Hello, thanks for joining me. I am Martin Kwakwa. If you like my channel, please subscribe to it so that you can always be coming over, or we will let you know whenever a new one drops in. Well, today we're going to look at how to write a book to grow your business or authority. How to write a book to grow your business or authority. So what you are going to learn today is first, the 4,000-year-old strategy to becoming competition and recession proof. And then we look at the 4 myths you have been led to believe about writing a book, and the 10 steps to becoming a best-selling author in 90 days or less. Well, the 4,000-year-old strategy to becoming a competition and recession proof, what do you think that one is? What is the 4,000-year-old strategy? It's simply the art of book writing. Books that have been written over 4,000 years continue to give us instructions and whatever happened in the past. That can never go away. It's always a good strategy to apply. Write a book and then you get noticed, you get your voice heard, and you get to boost your popularity or your authority or your expertise. So that is the first thing we're going to learn, and then the 4 myths you have been led to believe about writing a book. And then lastly, the 10 steps to becoming a best-selling author. First then, who am I and why should you listen to me? As I just said, my name is Martin Kwakwa. And yeah, this is one of a photo of my younger days. And this one not too young, or this only a few years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago. And this one as well, that's about 3 or so years ago, with the then Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull at a function. Yes, and so that is there, these photos here. And then if my personal family photos are here as well. This is me in a studio broadcasting. And then here, the middle photo, that is me and my wife and our first grandchild, Ezra. And if you come to the right here, this is, yes, the clan, the whole of us, me, my wife, and my 4 boys. And if you look at that, yeah, I'm the shortest among the whole lot. Probably because I was born in an African village. I never got to drink milk like these boys. And the youngest one is the one on the extreme left. He's only 14, but look how tall he is. Going. Look, so first, my early life in Ghana. I was born in Ghana, as I said, in the middle of the country, in the hinterland, a very poor community. And I grew up there, went to school there, even up to university level. I was going back and forth. I mean, during school holidays, I'll be back in the village. And then when it's time to go to university, for example, I'll go back to the city where the university was located, yes. So growing up in a very poor African village, when I was quite a very young boy, very, very young boy, probably not even in class 1 or maybe year 1 or something. That was, this is the year 1965, when there was stories, excitement sweeping the country and the village that television was coming to the country. So we couldn't wait for that moment. But when it eventually came in, that village where I lived happened to be to host a television relay station. So all the television programs were relayed from that village. So it happened to be in the village where there was a television right from the very beginning. The very day television arrived in the country of Ghana, everyone in the village was glued to the lone TV set in that community. And I can still vividly remember how excitement swept everywhere. And we also photos of city life and other places in the world. Before then, the only glimpse that we have of the outside world was old photos that we gleaned from old magazines that will probably find their way into the village after so many months or years. And then in newspapers, and then listening attentively to news on radio. That was all the link we had with the outside world. But I saw this footage on TV and all the videos going on television set, and I vowed to myself that, look, I'm not going to stay in this village. I have to work hard enough to be able to get out of this poverty and move outside of this place. Quite fortunately for me, I was quite a clever student at school. So I did excel in examinations. Um, Competitive examinations to high school was even, very difficult to even get a place in high school. I managed to pass and then got admitted to one of the elite secondary schools or high schools in the country. I managed to do that, went on to university, and then eventually landed a job, my first job in the country's parliament as assistant clerk of parliament. It was quite a relatively high-class position, but after all that, I still couldn't make way because everything was so difficult, and I couldn't become the person I really wanted to. And to make matters worse, shortly after I got the job in the parliament, there was a military coup d'etat in the country. And those days, 1970s, 1980s in Africa, coup d'etats, military rule almost all over sub-Saharan Africa. Ghana wasn't immune. So the parliament was shut down. There was no parliamentary duties. And what would I do? I just decided to go back to university and do some postgraduate studies. I did that, came out as a journalist, and also found a job at the country's premier media house called Graphic Corporation, where I worked as a journalist, eventually becoming features editor. But right there, so the country was so almost broken. There had been this economic sanctions slapped on the country by Western nations and even neighboring African nations. For example, Nigeria, decided not to supply any more crude oil to Ghana. So it was so difficult for anything to move where there was no fuel, nothing. So I decided to, if I could find my way out, as so many of professionals in the country were moving out of the country to find better living conditions. And just at that time, it was only Libya as a country that was supplying crude oil to Ghana and supplying lots of items that Ghanaians would need for day-to-day life. So I think the Ghanaian government had a plan with Libya, and then they decided to send English teachers to Libya because Libya requested English language teachers, and knowing Ghana was officially English is the language, and as a former British colony, yes, everything is done in English in Ghana. So they decided to send some graduates who had no job in Ghana to go and teach English in the schools in Libya. And I was offered that opportunity if I wanted to go. So I jumped on the plane and went to Tripoli. Got there for about just probably a few months, and then it was summertime, and there was this long vacation in that part of the world where around summertime, June, July, August is all holidays. So I got 3 months of holiday, and then I decided to spend the holidays in Britain. So I went to Britain, stayed there for 3 months, and while there, a family friend, a cousin of mine was studying in Sydney at Sydney University for his PhD degree in, I think, agriculture, agri. So through correspondence, he said if I wanted to come to Australia, it's a very good place, and I would really like the place. So the next day off, I went to the Australia House in Central London, and then submitted an application to move to Australia. They said, no, I couldn't do that so suddenly, so I'll have to leave the application there, and it would take months or even probably even a year or two for me to be able to go through all the processes. So I left the application there. After 3 months in the UK, I went back to Libya, stayed there for another year, and then the next, when it was another summer holidays, I moved back to London, and after a few weeks there, I went back to the Australian High Commission in central London, and fortunately, I was given the visa to come over. So I made a detour, just went back to Ghana to say goodbye to my parents. That now I'm going to the other end of the world, probably to take so many years for me to see you again. So I just decided to come over and bid farewell, which I did, and landed in Sydney. And that is it. That's the new chapter of my life that began in Australia here 35 or 36 years ago, and I'm still here. I came in here, and then I decided to go back to my old profession, not teaching, but old profession of journalism. So unfortunately, there were lots of advertisements looking for journalists, public relations practitioners, and things like that. So I went to a few media houses and tried to find a job, and all of them gave me almost the same answer that no, you don't have what do you call local experience, so you can't just keep you on. And they also questioned my academic certificates and said because none of them was issued by an Australian institution, probably it will be difficult for anyone to recognize your certificates. So I thought hard about it and spent 3 years slaving away in a factory. And then after that, I said I'll go back to university here and then get what they call the local qualifications, which I did. I went to university, had another postgraduate study, passed quite well. And shortly after I came out, I got a job. Two jobs actually. One was my full-time job at Australian Associated Press as a journalist, and then the other two at multicultural broadcaster SBS, that one was my, I would say, part-time job. Yes, so I held those jobs concurrently for quite a long time. SBS job for 24 years, and just over a year or 2 years ago, I just retired. And so that is the formal work. I retired from the formal work just a few months, or I would say a year or two ago. And I'm now in my post-career, and that is what I'm doing at the moment, a consultant. All that I learned from my various jobs as a journalist, a public relations practitioner, and all those things, and an editor. That's what I'm using now to help people to write books, to tell stories about their businesses or their professional stories. That those stories can probably even get them to become entrepreneurs. Because if you have qualifications from the university and then you've worked in the public or private sector for so many years, you have lots and lots of knowledge and information to share. And once you share them, people will know and realize that yes, you have something in you, and out of that, you can build a career. So that is my story up to now. And then my why, my why is my family. I've already showed you. Then myself, my grandchild, and then my 4 boys, 1, 2, 3, 4, and my wife here. So that is it. We move on to this one here. Once you get to write a book about your business or your presence of your profession, or just after doing a particular job for so long, you tend to have a whole lot of responses. What that book or that, I would say, that qualification experience have done to you, or they help you to achieve. In my case, for example, I can probably say my job or my book have built a great business for me, and I get invitations to speak at paid events, and I am seen as an authority in my industry, and I've built a list of followers on social media, and I'm able to share my passion, and I've positioned myself in the marketplace. I mean, there are dozens of reasons that probably one person can give. So that is some of the typical responses we get people who we help to write their book or to write something about their job or their business. So you can probably see yourself doing a similar thing. But there are myths. I would say myths. People give a whole lot of reasons why they haven't been able to write a book. And this, because these are all myths, you don't have to believe them. Don't believe them, because if you believe them, then you can never move anywhere. One of the myths is, oh, you can only write a book when you are an expert in a particular field. I'm not an expert. No, don't demean yourself like that. You are an expert in your field. You've gone through school or university or college, and you've been working in the government sector or private sector. All those years, the story of your life plus what you have accomplished at work or what you have gone through at home, your experience gives you expertise to write about it. So that is myth number one. Don't believe them. You are an expert in whatever field you are. No one, everyone, no, I mean, no one, two persons are created equally. Everyone has a very unique story to tell. So that unique story that you can tell makes you an expert in your particular area. So just use it and let people know and share that story with everyone. So the second one, I have no mailing list or following. So if I write a book, who is gonna buy my book? I don't know anyone I'm going to share my story with. No, you do have it. You do have it. You have friends, and even without that, the thing is that you don't have to have a following or before you can write a book. When you write a book, the book will give you the following. I mean, if you believe that you don't have a mailing list, so you can't write it, it means that you are putting the cart before the horse. Once you get a book written, you share it on social media, and then you see a whole lot of people will be writing to you, asking you about the book or probably wanting to know more. And everyone who gets in contact puts their email down for you. And before we realize, you've gotten hundreds, sometimes even thousands of people on your mailing list. And that becomes your following. And it can grow and grow and grow and grow before you realize sometimes you can't even accommodate all of them. So the mailing list will follow your book. If you write a book, everyone sees you as an expert. Industry organizations, people, your friends, and even people who haven't heard of you will see you in the media because people will probably want to talk to you about your book. Because in your book, you get to have interviews with the media houses, newspapers, radio, or even podcasts. And then before you realize, everyone knows about you, everyone heard about you, and the mailing list will begin to grow. The third myth is, I'm never going to be able to get a book done. People believe it's such a Herculean task that it's so difficult to do because so many years back, until recently, if you want to write a book, you will need a whole lot of things to go right for you. You have to probably sit down for ages, maybe years, to write that book. And then you have to find a publisher, which is never cheap. And then the publisher will have to find a company, a printing press, to print thousands and thousands of copies of books for you to store in your garage somewhere. And then when you hear that someone wants a copy of it, you just send it to him. That is no more. These days, all of them gone. You can just write a book and publish it yourself. You don't really need to keep even a copy of your book in your home. People will go to your website, get a book, buy it, and then Amazon will print just that one copy and send it to the person who wants to buy the book. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to buy them in boxes and keep them in your garage or in your spare bedroom. No, that is over. So you don't need any inventory at all. You can get all the book done. And then even if you want copies for your friends, you yourself have to order them online, and then the 4 copies will be sent to you, and then you can give them out to your friends. book publishing has changed so much that you can publish any book yourself without going through all the hardships and the expense. And then the last one is the last one. I don't need help, or I don't have a story to share. The story to share, I've already mentioned that you can share the story from your birth and then link it to what you are doing now. It ties up almost always nicely how you grew up, what you went through, and how what you are doing now. It will all come together so nicely. And then you don't need help. You do really need help, because even though book publishing has become easier and easier, you still need someone to guide you to go through all the steps. Because I've been to so many functions that I've talked to friends about writing a book, and they say, "Oh, I started writing a book some time ago, but I'm gonna finish it by the end of this year or the financial year." You meet the person again a year or two's time, you ask him, "What's the book? What's happened to your book?" And you tell you, "Oh, this thing and that," and giving reasons why the book has not been done. If you give them 1,000 years, still they can never get the book done on their own, because you need someone to guide you, someone, a professional person to guide you and get you to get the book done within months. A book can be written in a matter of maybe in one weekend, and then you can get everything from beginning to end finished between, say, in about 3 months or 90 days, basically. So yes, you do need help, but you do also have a story to share. And so the 10 steps, now we're going to look at the 10 steps to becoming a bestseller. What you do is, first of all, you need a great cover for your book, a great title and subtitle, the book content. Where am I going to get the content from? How am I going to get the stories to fill the book? Or how am I going to put all these things together? You need a book web page as well. Category selection, one of the most important steps. Your book needs to find a category, so that the thousands and thousands of books online, your book can get lost quickly unless you put it in the category that it deserves, and people will go to that category and search for your book. That makes it easier for them to find your book and find even you, because your name will be linked to the book. And then we'll give you an Amazon author page. You as an author has to have a page on Amazon, which is the largest marketplace in the world. You have to be there, and we will help you do that. And then we launch your book on Kindle. Kindle is the electronic version of your book, where you can, buyers can just buy the Kindle version, the electronic one, and put the book on their smartphone and read it on their phone or on their tablet or on their desktop computer. We launched the book there first, and then we also launched it on paperback. Paperback is the traditional book that you can hold in your hand. That, some of us are old school. We prefer the old method of reading a book, getting a book and reading it, and maybe on the train or on the bus on our way to work, or in bed, or probably under a shady tree. And then when we've done that one, yes, there's also the bestseller promotion, where we promote your book to bestseller status. And you'll be very proud to receive that status from Amazon that says this man or this woman is a bestseller author. And it will be a title that you keep for life, like being a doctor. You are always a doctor, whether you retire or you leave the medical sector or academic field, and then do something else. You are still a doctor. And then after all that, what we do is we celebrate your achievement, maybe getting people together, your friends together, and then launch your book with them. And I've been to a few of those launch parties where friends of the author will bid to buy the first copies of the book. Always a great event, and we will do that with you all. And this is exactly what we will take. We will take every one of the 10 things that here, all these 10 steps. We will take them, especially when you become, if I become your consultant in the book publishing project. So for a 30-minute complimentary book creation consultation, just contact me on, preferably I would say on SMS. Just send a text message to this number 406-0406-932-768 and just write book in the message or the body of the message, and then I will just get back to you. Yes, the number again in Sydney or Australia, 61-0406-932-768. So that's about it for now. So come back later on to my channel and get more. Thanks for your time.